Good morning, and welcome to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. Grab your beverage of choice and buckle up because we're going to have some fun today. So, Charles Bukowski actually said that good women and beautiful women in good times are having a lot in common. They don't last. And that's something that you realize on semen retention. A lot of people think that the healing process on semen retention, the healing from the perverted system that we live in, is going to be sunshine, rainbows, and I'm going to be on semen retention and everything's just going to be amazing. All the benefits are going to come right away and blah, 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 blah. And that may be true for some of you out there. The power of the full sack is really incomprehensible to the depleted Coomer who worships the pink palace. So what we have to recognize as full Sackian men is that we don't really take women seriously, not as a flex, but because we just see these women for what they are. And this is why you don't really take women seriously anymore after semen retention. It's not a flex to be like, I walk away from women now. I'm someone who walks away from women. I'm someone that doesn't need women. Fuck that. We all need each other, really. We all really do need each other, and I know that that's something that many people don't want to hear, but that's simply the truth, because it's not really a matter of us and them. Even Patrice O'Neill, who says a lot of interesting, insightful things about women, he called women the enemy. And I don't really get the sense that this man, as insightful as he was a free being. Around free beings, or around more free beings than most other people, let's say, there's the sense of lightness to them. There's a sense of just speaking the truth, and there's childlike wisdom that emanates from them. And that's what a lot of people hate about myself, for example. I can't tell you how many times people have told me that I'm just trying to hustle people for money and all this stuff, and it's just like, you don't really get what I'm trying to do then. Because this is a hustle, but it's not I'm hustling you. This is part of who I am. This is part of the soul of existence wants to express itself through me in this way. And why should I just give all of my pearls before you swine, right? Like this is why I don't really talk about as deep of the things that I would like to sometimes in my videos, because I leave that for people that are actually willing to pay for certain information, because not everybody deserves the truth. I'm not a man of the people. That's what a lot of people think that spiritual people are supposed to be. And they're like, my version and my image of a spiritual practitioner is this way, and you don't fit this, so you must be evil. Oh my gosh. You're like a woman, man. I can't take you seriously. This is the kind of thing where people will try to take advantage of your wisdom and your experience, and they try to live vicariously through you. And it's like, in the 48 Laws of Power, I'm making this 48 Laws of Power class in the Regal Academy right now. And one thing that Robert Greene writes about in the book, he says, he quotes somebody else that says, why experience something that somebody else can experience if you can profit from somebody else's experience? That's what these people want. They just want power. They want to profit from your experience. It's the same thing with women, man. These beta dudes who think that, I have a certain version of who I think I'm supposed to be on semen retention, and you don't fit that. So you're evil, man. You're evil, and you're just a hustling us. All right. Well, sometimes people are gonna hustle you, and that's just, you got to be mindful of that. You've got to have discernment, and sometimes you just got to be willing to, like, what's the cost of not doing something? You know, a lot of people just evaluate the cost, and this is something I've talked about with people in my Godlike Mastery offer, where I said to this person over the past couple weeks, I said, look, not only do you have to evaluate the cost of doing something, you have to evaluate the cost of not doing something. You know, it's so fascinating how people will try to be a certain way for so long because they think that that's what they're supposed to do, rather than just, well, you got to take the risk, man. Like, you can't be on a low cost, low value timeline and complain about you not being on a high value, high cost, or high value, low cost timeline. There's no way. That's a peasant mindset. And peasant mindsets are the ones that worship women. They're the ones that are the depleted Coomers worshiping the pink palace, who want to view women as these like angels that do nothing wrong, when on Semen Retention you see that women are not angels at all. Now look, I love the feminine spirit. I love the feminine essence. There's a great healing and nurturing, like, think about Galadriel from Lord of the Rings. That is like, if you want to talk about peak feminine essence, that's the ideal, right? Galadriel, when she comes down and she meets the fellowship, and she's glowing, right? She's just emanating this brilliant, beautiful light. Arwen, okay, is another great feminine essence. And it's like these women are loyal. Penelope from the Odyssey, Odysseus's wife. That's another great feminine essence. I love that part of the feminine essence because those are the fine qualities. But I also love the qualities that are not so, not to be taken so seriously, even though they're not to be taken seriously. Because if I didn't have experiences with these types of women, especially on Semen Retention, if I didn't have these types of women experiences, I wouldn't be able to have the knowledge and the wisdom that I do to guide people out of situations that are only going to hinder and deter them from themselves. And so the way that I see this is that I'm not necessarily martyring myself, but I'm saying to myself, okay, well, there are certain experiences that I have that are going to be conducive to benefiting other people so that they don't have to go through unnecessary suffering. So this goes back to the power quote of, well, why experience something yourself when you can profit from other people's experiences? Well, you could flip that around and say, well, why should I have to experience unnecessary suffering when I can learn from the unnecessary suffering of other individuals? Now, look, sometimes you're going to have to just go through that unnecessary suffering because you're going to have to realize one way or another it's unnecessary. However, you don't always have to. And so that's the important thing. And with women, I've had women in my experience where they will lie straight to your face about their status in relationships because they want to be with you, or they just want to take your energy. A lot of these women are full sack drainers. That's all that they are. They just want the energy of the full sack. That's all that they want, because they really don't have power. Like something Patrice O'Neill has talked about in the past, which I would say this is actually insightful, is that he would say that women don't have any power that you do not give them. This is so true. And this goes for anybody, actually. Nobody has any power over you unless you give it to them. Like, think about Jesus Christ in the story where the Pharisees come to confront him. And Jesus Christ says, well, because the Pharisees ask him, they say, well, are you are you the Son of God? Like, are you really the Son of God? And then Jesus says, well, this is a question I ask unto you. Was John the Baptist's baptism of me, was it of heaven or was it of earth? And the Pharisees kind of like, I don't know. Well, if we say this, then, like, if we say that it's earthly, then we denied John being a prophet, which everybody else, claims that John the Baptist is a prophet. But if we say it's heavenly, then we affirm him to be divine. So, what do we do here? Well, we'll say neither. And then Jesus Christ says, well, neither do I tell you where I get my authority from to do the things that I do. And that's where the Pharisees, they asked him, where do you get this authority? The authority doesn't come from outside of you. The authority comes from inside of you because you trust yourself. This is a psychophysiological thing. Okay, so think about psychophysiologically. And look, for all of the Christians out there, I am not a Christian, but I value the stories of the Bible and I value Jesus Christ, but I don't see anybody outside of me as God. That doesn't mean that I see myself as the one and only God. It's just that I am a part of the soul of existence, just as much as anybody else. When I look at anything, I see us all as one organism coming into itself, realizing itself. And this is the whole point of semen retention. It's just to realize your true nature, really. That's what brahmacharya really is. Like the Hindus talk about be brahmacharya. Maharaji, Ram Dass's guru, he would say that sexual power is the way that you create God. Now, what the hell does that mean, right? Like when you hear that, you're like, sexual power is what creates God? I mean, for some reason it makes sense, but you don't know why it makes sense, right? At least it doesn't make sense to me when I first read it. When I first read that, I was like, huh? Like, it makes sense, but I don't know why. And then, my interpretation of it, because I'm not Maharaji, but I see God in Maharaji. And Maharaji, in Hindi, allegedly means King of Kings. But it's such a common name that the barista at the coffee shop in India will have the name Maharaji, apparently. So there's all these different domains of life that are made available unto you. Every option available to you is there in every domain and plane of consciousness if you have but the courage to look inside yourself rather than outside of yourself for authority. And this is one of the reasons why you take women less seriously. You take women less seriously because you're no longer looking for them to be authoritative. Now, there are some avoidant men who are avoidant in their attachment styles, for example, who like assertive women. They kind of like that. Now, this is actually something that I talked to one of the members in the Regal Academy about just this last week regarding addictions. Now, Sigmund Freud, he thought that people addicted to smoking or drinking was actually the urge to go back to the mother's teat. So he saw that these addictions were coming back to the mother. Now, I see some truth in that. However, I also don't fully concur with it because I think it's a bit deeper than that. There's other psychological processes that are going on, but that's definitely a big part. 100%, absolutely. And so one thing that you can think about is, well, why are you wanting super assertive women? Why is it the case that so many of these beta dudes want to give power to women? Oh, women power. No, they want mates. That's all that they want. They want, that's their mating strategy nowadays. Their mating strategy is to give women psychological power over themselves. I mean, you've seen the Pride parade, whatever, in June. You've seen the Pride parades where they literally have women in like these BDSM outfits, holding men hostage by a freaking leash, and the men just love it, and they're acting like these dogs and all that. Like, it's disgusting. You know, it's just, you look at it and you're just like, there's little less disturbing to my being than to see that. That is bizarre, you know, because but in a way it reminds you of the goddess Kali in Hindi. Well, in the Hindu religion rather, Kali, the goddess Kali, however you pronounce it, is actually a very interesting goddess. She, if you work with her, allegedly, you are calling her to take all of that unnecessary suffering and pain and all of that, and you got to actually be willing to give it to her, though, because otherwise, if you call on Kali and you don't have an offering to her, because when you see these images of Kali, she has these images of, you know, men's heads cut off. She has her tongue sticking out. You know, she's standing on top of men. I mean, it's just the full force of, like, it looks kind of evil in some ways, but there's actually something that transcends that good and evil nature. Remember, good and evil is a matter of one plane of consciousness. It only exists on certain planes of consciousness. Once you're oriented from a place of timelessness, good and evil doesn't exist there. However, you still, as long as you have a form, good and evil is going to, quote unquote, exist, because that's the plane of consciousness that we're operating on. But the thing that you can do on semen retention is recognize that we live on multiple domains of consciousness and multiple planes of consciousness simultaneously. So that is what's going to be most important here to recognize. That's what's going to be most vital for your own godlike mastery education. This is what I do. This is why I do what I do, is because there's going to be information like this that has been told to you and been revealed unto you in ways you've never heard before. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I want to give it to you raw and real. Like, so many of these people, they want to make these super fancy, like, have you seen these podcasts that basically have like these movie qualities? To me, I mean, it looks cool, yeah, like, and great job, like, you know, going to work with that. But like, as the more we go into the AI world and the more we grow into this AI world, it's going to be the raw, unfiltered footage that's going to be most regarded as true, because that is the most truth. Like, AI, we already, as a society, the governments, the shadow leaders, the wizards in power, they already have us where they want us, basically, which is they want us so confused on what reality, quote unquote, is, that we don't even know. I mean, how many times have you heard these old people be like, oh, check out this video, and you're like, that's AI. And they're like, what? How can you tell? That's exactly what they want. That's what they want. They don't want you to know the difference between that which is raw and real and true and that which is AI, because they want to usher in something that is anti-human. Now, I'm saying this not with the sense of like fear. See, the flies come out as soon as I talk about these things. Those are the monitoring spirits. So they want this, but don't give into the fear of it. Do it, recognize it from a form of self-respect, and just see, like, yep, that's part of the melodrama. So that's part of the melodrama of this plane of consciousness. Fascinating, interesting, but nothing to get hung up about. Okay, you know, I don't want people to get like paranoid about these things, or like the ushering in of the you know, the mark of the beast or whatever. Like, it's already here. It's already here. It's just a matter of what's the cost that you want to pay. And this is going back to, you know, one of the earlier questions of this video is, well, what's the cost of doing something and what's the cost of not doing something? It's the same thing with investing in yourself. What's the cost of not investing in yourself? That's something that you're going to have to deal with on your own. So, I trust that this message reached those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, that are ready to hear this type of message. Peace be with you. Be blessed. Apply to the Godlike Mastery offer. If you're ready for that financial and spiritual commitment to yourself and devotion to yourself, yes, do that. Otherwise, you can join the Regal Academy with the standard tier and the premium tier available to you. The premium tier is going to be where you have more access to different types of classes as well as the group calls. Standard tier gets you into the community, and you have a couple classes and a few exclusive videos, but the premium tier is going to be the place where we protect the integrity of the Godlike Mastery education and the Regal Academia, you could say. So, cheers, peace, until next time.